Okay. Yes. We're live today, and welcome to another. I think this is second. This is second episode we're having in the tech sales series, and essentially the reason why we're doing this is because we want as many people as possible to gain insight as to happenings around the tech sales ecosystem, right? There are a lot of people who want to get into tech sales. There are a lot of people who want to get into this tech thing, right? Like I love to say, but they don't know. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to go about it. They don't know where to start from, right? And that's the reason why we're doing this. A lot of people feel like tech is all codes and scripts and designs, but tech can be as easy as the transferable skills you have, as simple as communication, right? And that's why we're trying to demystify all of these things at the School of Advanced Selling, right? And that's why we've had this tech sales series for some time now. And we're going to run it through, another maybe 2, 3 weeks. 2, 3 months rather, just to make sure that we have enough information online. So anybody who wants to get into the system or this space understands, how and where to start from, right? And with that said, I'll just introduce myself. So my name is Michael, and I'll be your host for today. I'm particularly excited about this episode because I have someone who has walked the path. He has done every single thing there needs to be. I mean, he's climbing speedily in his career, and he has done amazing things throughout his career, even up to this point, right? And in this episode, we'll be unpacking, some of um, the amazing things he has done so far, how he has managed to move through different stages of his career, and right now, working with companies like a company like Oracle, um, just understanding how he has been able to do all of this, right? So I won't be doing this alone. I'll be joined by my brother, my friend Toyosi, who'll be coming on stage just to join me as we dive deeper into the nitty gritties of this conversation. Welcome, Toyosi.
All right, thank you so much, Michael, for having me. It's good to be here.
Amazing. So, I mean, I'll just let both of us stay on stage as we dive into the gist of this conversation, right?
Mhm.
And let's just start. Let me just give some context um, around some of the people that might not know who Toyosi is. I'm sure we'll put this up in the flyer. But before we get started, so you're hearing from the best of the best, right? So Toyosi leads business development at Mid Market at Oracle in London, right? And he holds an MBA in international business from the University of Chester. And in this webinar, he'll be sharing his journey and insight on how he has secured positions like this. And if you did not know, Toyosi also worked at Google. So he's the best, bet when it comes to sharing insights into how you can navigate this ecosystem, how you can navigate this journey in the tech sales world. Welcome again, Toyosi.
Thank you so much. What an introduction, Michael.
Amazing. Now, let's just jump right into it. Because we've had people say, I've had people ask me questions. What is this tech thing? What is this tech sales thing? How does one navigate this industry? What's the meaning of this thing? And do I need to learn codes? Do I need to learn design? Do I need to learn all this complicated? Because people have so mystified tech, the word tech, that we feel
Mm,
like it's one far off, unachievable space just
mm,
left for the very few people. So, what would
mm.
you describe tech sales to be, and what does tech sales really mean, and what do tech sales people actually do?
Yeah, very good question. I always like telling stories when I talk about tech sales,
Amazing.
and I always like to be very imaginative, especially when describing what it really means, because
Yeah.
tech sales in itself means like different things to different people.
Hmm.
But here's how I'm going to describe it. Now, imagine you have a grandma, right, that obviously has never held a phone before. Let's assume that you, Michael, are living like in, let's say, Dubai. and you really love your grandma, and you want your grandma to stay in contact with you, and obviously in our current modern day, there's nothing like, writing letters. You know how in all these very ancient movies, they typically will write letters and then they'll give it to like is it like a pigeon or something? The pigeon will now fly to a different, or they'll sail, and obviously because of the modern day that we are, you give your grandma a mobile phone, right? Oh, grandma, here is a mobile phone, you can use it to call me. And one day your grandma uses that mobile phone and calls you, and she's able to hear your voice, and you're like, wow, it works. That's what tech sales is about. It's just about like helping people solve real problems. For your grandma, it was the communication gap, right? And it's all about helping, people, businesses, friends, families, solving real problems with tech, anything techy, whether it is software, whether it's hardware, whether it's maybe like a friend, for example,
Yeah.
that can't maybe do like a video call like we're doing right now, and you offer them like a laptop, or cloud solutions that we do have now. So it's just all about solving real problems
Yeah.
for people, for businesses using technology as you know it today. That's what tech sales is. So think about a real problem, your grandma, communication gap, your friend, he wants to do a video interview, doesn't have a laptop. Think
Yeah.
about it as you helping them to solve those problems using tech and modern day technology. That's what tech sales means. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Solving problems with modern day technology.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna follow up this question with another one, which I usually get, and a lot of people, and you won't blame them when they say these things, right? When we watch, movies from the 90s and early 2000s, and then we see we typically see salespeople as those guys that either go from door to door, selling products, right?
Mm,
Or we see salespeople as those guys that do a bunch of phone calls, cold calls, right? You see a room
mm-hmm,
filled with people, and then everybody is just punching at those numbers and making a lot of calls, 200,
mm,
500, 1,000 calls every single day.
mm,
Now, I just want you to demystify this, right?
mm,
Is this the typical day-to-day life of a tech salesperson? And that's one. And then
mm-hmm.
two, and then two is how big is the growth potential in this field, right? Or is it just you start at this calling level and this is what you're doing for the rest of your life?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the second question that you asked.
Okay.
So sales is like a huge pot that leads to like different parts. So, for example, take a look at this guy called Warren Buffett, for example. I don't know if you know him. He's an investor,
Yeah.
but he was a salesperson. Take a look at when you hear about Apple. The CEO of the CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, for example,
Yeah.
was once a salesperson.
Okay.
Look at some of the biggest companies. For example, even Oracle. I think the founder of Oracle obviously was technical, but then at some point he was a salesperson.
Salesperson. Okay.
Every co-founder you find, within Nigeria right now and around the world, whether you like it or not, they are salespeople because they have to sell those systems. So sales is a path to different fields. Typically, in our current world, you typically start as an SDR. An SDR is
Yeah.
sort of like the business development representative, where you help business generate leads. That's where you obviously do some of your cold calls, you do a bit
Yeah.
of cold emailing and all those things. What you're trying to do at that stage of sales is to get an idea of what sales is and how to, sell value and discover problems, because sales is all about discovering problems. If there is no problem, if no one is having a problem, then there is no
Yeah.
sale, right? Nobody just buys things for fun, right? For
Mm-hmm.
example, you will not go into the market and go and buy beans when you don't eat beans or when you don't eat beans. There has to be a problem for you to be a salesperson. So an SDR, as a starting position, is just helping people uncover problems, helping the business, opening the door for sales to the company. And typically, different people move from being an SDR to like different positions. I've seen people that move to marketing, for example, because marketing is just a bit of sales as well. It's just that
Yeah.
marketing is sales online. You're trying to sell to customers online rather than face to face,
Yeah.
right? And typically the normal part is that you move to an account exec, which is more of a closing role. So an SDR role is more like a top of funnel. All you're trying to do is to build interest and build pipeline. But AEs are the ones that take those conversations that you've built and take them and close those deals. That's what they typically do. And from there, you can go to like being a sales manager. You can lead like a team of AEs, or you can even go back to become an SDR manager, lead a team of SDRs or BDRs. You can also go on to work in customer success. I've seen salespeople that have grown to be regional directors of sales, or they become the CEO. I've seen salespeople that have decided and gone into product, because salespeople, because they understand problems and they know how to solve problems, they know exactly what gaps products needs to fill to be able to satisfy their customers. So they will go. Some people, I've seen people, when I was working in Google, for example, I had one of my colleagues that went back to the US to work in product. So I've also seen people that have gone ahead to work as the CEO of a company and grown to be managing directors, because they understand the market, they understand customers, and they can sell the product. So there's a lot of pathways for sales. I think sales is a role that is the most tangible skill. I keep telling people it's the most tangible experience that anyone can have. If, for example, I have a friend now that is just starting their career and they're not sure exactly what to do, I would say start with sales. You would find it out when you start with sales. So, if you are thinking about going into a sales career, it's a good field. In terms of the first question, look, sales, while it's a very lucrative and a very good place to start, it's quite challenging. I think some of the common myth about sales is that you must be super technical. That's not really true. Or that sales is all about pressure, ad selling, when the reality of sales is actually consultative selling. So it's almost like you're a consultant when you're a seller. If you're in sales, you're a consultant. You're not, you know, my first exposure to sales was, GT Bank and staffs taking all these letters or these forms up and down to sign people up for GT Bank. That's not sales. That's just I don't know what that is, but
Got to know marketing.
sales is way more strategic than most people think. Yes, you do a lot of tons of phone calls, but the phone calls are very specific and very strategic. When you're having those conversations, you're having it based on a problem that they might be facing. If they are not facing a problem, then you have to let it go. And again, that's the interesting about sales, and that's why sales is not it's not a it's a very strategic role. It gives you and teaches you a lot of skills. It makes you a consultant. Consultants ask the right questions. They uncover needs of the prospect. If the prospect does not have a need, then there is no sale and there's no need for the sale. So the common myth is, oh, you have to be technical, you have to be able to do, but trust me, all you need with sales is that you must be curious enough to learn. You must be able to communicate effectively, and those things are things that you learn. You have to be able to problem solve as well, because it can be very challenging. It's not easy, but I think with those few things, you'll be able to break through the pressure of cold calling, the fear of cold calling and talking to strangers, and obviously helping people solve real problems that they're facing. And once you understand that sales is about solving real problems, the pressure just lifts up, because you can't sell to everyone. They have to have a challenge that you can solve. So that's how I would describe it. Obviously, did you ask me about the growth potential and the earning potential within the field as well?
Yes. I did. Said, what are the growth potentials within the field?
Yeah, so look, I started with that. There's a lot of growth potential. As a matter of fact, when I started my career and I made a leap to sales, because my career started in engineering. So I worked in oil and gas in Lagos for a few months, and then they owed me a bit of salary. I was not sure exactly what to do, and then I went to work in non-profit, and I started earning like 40,000 naira. But while I was working there, I knew that okay, there was something else out there that I could explore. And I took a huge pay cut to work with one startup called CredPal.
Mm.
I don't know if any of
Okay.
you know CredPal in
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Yeah. No credit.
And they were paying me some kind of very small money. But guess what? I was just all about the learning and trying to understand what career path. As a matter of fact, they actually recruited me as in marketing, but I then started seeing the business development guys what they do, and I loved it. I really loved, what they did. They were always calling people. They were always trying to persuade people to, and I got into it, and since then it's been really good. And sometimes you have to take risks in your career to like for the long run, basically. And
Yeah.
I'm happy I took that risk because as soon as I left that place, for example, I got my Google job because they were
Mhm.
looking for someone that had experience both in marketing and sales. I got that job and it just went start going up and up and up like that until I got
Mhm.
here. So the earning potential is very good. I think with sales, it's all about your commission and
Yeah.
getting those commissions. So if you're able to hit your target and you can potentially earn more than anyone working anywhere. You know,
True.
I've seen people that I have a colleague that had like 100K commission in 1 year
Mm.
in dollars.
Nice.
That's
Nice.
minus like
Nice.
his base salary.
Basic salary.
If you convert that to your naira, or your naira, that's almost 300
Anywhere
million.
close to. Yep. True.
So it's very lucrative, but it's very strategic. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting field to be in, and I think a lot of people just think that it's all about pressure of and blah blah blah. But guess
Mhm.
what? It's all about understanding people. Try to understand people and understand what they need, and try to solve that problem. And guess
Yeah.
what? If you're able to solve their problem, then you close the sale and you get
Make
those good
money.
money. Um, but yeah, but I've already obviously talked about like the steps in sales and
Yeah.
what you can
Mhm.
explore. If you want to explore sales, look for like a sales associate, an SDRO, and you're good to go.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Toyosi. So there were some things you mentioned I just wanted to piggyback on, and you said sales is the most tangible experience anyone can have, which is very
Mm-hmm.
important. And you also said if you're in sales, you're a consultant, and
Mm-hmm.
selling is about solving problems. And I think this is where people face like the most challenge because they
Mm-hmm.
feel like they need to, and you mentioned something, you said hard selling. People feel like they need to hard sell to people to close, right? Somebody's telling you that they don't want this thing. It's not right for me. You're
Mm-hmm.
pushing it. You're saying this is why you need it. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like this is where people feel like sales becomes a tough nut to crack because they want to force every single person to buy a product that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
essentially solve any problem for them. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, so if you're taking anything out of this, sales
Mm-hmm.
is more consultative than hard
Mm-hmm.
selling. So important. So important. Now let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about getting started, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this is particularly important for people who are watching this episode. And if you
Mm-hmm.
missed the previous episode, right, we really dived into how to get started in tech sales. So if you really want to, just go back to that episode, watch every bit of it, and I'm sure you get a lot out of that. But let's just do like, sort of like a bit refresher course, right? And help people who are on this live to understand how do they get started? Where do I even start from? I have a non-technical background, right? I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything about sales. I've never done this in my life. Where do I really start from?
Yeah. Interesting question. Look, um, just like me, I never, to be honest, I never really saw sales as a career. I was just interested in it. I was just like, yeah,
Mm,
this looks like a very good place to start. You do
mhm.
not need any experience to be in sales.
Okay.
All I would say you need is just the right structure and the right training. And here is what I would say it. If indeed you are looking to obviously kickstart and start from somewhere, I would say
Yeah.
the first thing is to understand the life cycle of sales. What does sales entail? And that you get that through training. For example, I'll give you a journey of how I started. So when I wanted to join sales, I knew I had the right attitude. I knew I had resilience. I knew how to work with people. I knew that, I was very curious. I was willing to learn. All you have to know how to do to start in sales is be willing to learn because you make a lot of mistakes.
Mhm.
And one place you can actually start is to get like a good training tutor or like a good YouTube page or someone that talks about sales. That's how I started. So I went on YouTube, for example. I wrote for a few training, free training, some of them paid, some of them, but I wrote for some of them, and some of them gave me some good background into what sales entails and interview preps, you know, how I
Yeah.
can apply to companies, how I can do all those things. There are a lot of structured programs on YouTube, for example,
Okay.
and outside YouTube as well that you can enroll for to get started.
So,
The second thing, obviously, is the structure. So, once you've, learned all these things from this training, you have to now have a structure to implement them. And the best way to do that is through internships. So I'll give you an example, and a lot of people don't do this. In Nigeria, there are a lot of tech startups. Like there are a lot of tech companies that are still growing and they've raised like let's say 100K, 200K.
mm,
They're not out there. And Google will give you these names. For example, my job in CredPal was not necessarily I didn't like apply for the job. All I did was to message the CEO of the company. Look,
mhm.
I've been training to do this. I'm just looking for an opportunity to intern at your company. You'll be shocked that a lot of these companies will give you the opportunity and you don't want to just sit down. And that's one of the ways you can show you're even a salesperson to be able to reach out to people that you don't know. Like that's the best way to start, right? I've had colleagues in my office that, for example, at some point before I got my job, I used to cold call recruiters. I'll just go online. As a salesperson, you also have to be able to navigate those things and how to prospect, how to get contact, how to get all those things. Cold call people, like cold call the CEO. You'll be shocked that you get those numbers from sites like Apollo and all these phone call sites that you can use to get numbers. Check for the CEO of, let's say, Paystack and give him a
Mm,
call. That is how you build that. Yes, I'm born to be a salesperson. When you can reach out to a stranger and communicate, people get jobs that way. So there's
true.
no better way to get a job than to prospect for the people that are hiring or people that can give you that job. So
That job.
just have the right training. Start with that. Know what are the key parts of sales. Cold calling is one. Being able to build solid relationship is the second. I
Mm,
know that just being able to be resilient and persistent is very, very key as well.
yeah.
Being able to ask the right questions, learn about sales methodologies as well. Those things you learn in a training or a program on YouTube or paid or
Mm,
unpaid that you decide to go for. And then from there, the right structure, do your CV, put all those things you've learned there. Also, sales, a huge part of sales is also the CRM, knowing how to use like specific CRMs.
yeah.
There are HubSpot and Salesforce. You can learn how to use the system without actively. Trust me, the CRMs I use right now were things I learned on YouTube. So go on, they have demos. These products have demos on YouTube,
On
free
YouTube.
demos that you can obviously look at and see because any company that sells will definitely use one of these tools, either
Yeah.
Salesforce, HubSpot, or Zoho or different,
So, Pipe
you
drive.
have to
Yeah.
learn how to use it. And yeah, that's how you get started. I think it's just that curiosity. Curiosity drives you to learn more about the field and what's about. The same way curiosity brought you here today. So if you're here today, it's because you really are passionate about learning about this. That's why you've decided to log in into this event to attend. So curiosity also drives you to learn more about it and you get into that field. Yeah.
Amazing. Such insight. Listen, guys, if you're not writing, then you're missing out on a lot because my notes is almost full here. So I feel like your notes should be full as well. Thank you so much,
Mm,
Toyosi, for those insights.
mm,
And it's really amazing some of the things you mentioned, the willing to learn, shoot your shot,
mm,
understand cold calling properly and learn how to build solid relationships. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, for you to have had that impulse or that courage to jump into the DMs of that CEO, there
mm,
was a mindset you had, right? There was
mm,
something that propelled you to doing that, right?
mm.
What's that one mindset shift that you would say anybody who wants to go into the tech sales field should have? What's that?
I would
Is it
say,
grit? Or what? What was that thing?
yeah,
What made you do
no,
what you did?
yeah. Look, ownership is a very huge thing for me, and taking
Mm,
accountability. And if you really want to break through in anything, you have to take accountability for your life and yourself.
yeah.
Um, and once you are accountable to yourself, what happens then is it propels you to make decisions that you typically not make, and make
Mm,
decisions that so I think for me it's all about that accountability. If this is really what I want to do,
yeah.
and I'll be reaching out to people when I'm doing it, I can as well prospect
Mm,
my employer as well.
true.
So there are four things I typically always want to do when I do that. Is I understand what products are they selling. I understand who the profile of the ICP, and I'm not sure if you've heard about
Mm,
that before, but the ICP, the profile of the
mhm,
person I'm reaching out to, who are their ideal customers, and then I practice outreaching. But I think for
yeah.
me, it's just basically that ownership and accountability. If I really want this, then I have to take ownership of the entire thing, of the entire
Mm,
conversation, and even when you get into sales as well, you need a great deal of ownership, because sales is one career where people don't care if you cross 10 oceans to get your destination. You
true.
know, your result will speak for you. It's either your
Yeah,
result speaks or it doesn't.
it
Nobody's
does.
going to, you are not going to see, nobody's going to call you and be ailing you because you've made 20 calls or you have made 50 calls or you've said, people just want to see the, results of
You
your
closed.
action, yes. So, that's what I would say. Do just that ownership and just being accountable, knowing that
Mm,
there's a ton of things to learn.
mhm.
I think when you start in sales, you realize that one of the first things that you do is to shadow other people that are doing it.
True.
I've been doing it in the company just to learn exactly how they do that, and
Mm,
just that accountability was very important for me.
amazing, amazing. Accountability, ownership of your
Mhm.
own life. Amazing. And you mentioned a couple of things. So if you're watching this live, or if you're going to be watching this after this live as a recorded YouTube video, and you want to learn about CRMs, you want to learn about the ICPs, you want to learn about how to be more of a consultative seller than a hard seller, which is what you need to learn if you want to get into tech sales. We have a course right now at the School of Advanced Selling called the Tech Sales Mastery Course. Listen, if you want to jump on that course, we have a community we've created right now. Just drop a message in the community, right? Just let them know I want to be a part of the Tech Sales Mastery Course, and somebody will pick up that conversation from there and get you on boarded. Okay. Now let's just jump to the next thing in this conversation, because this is really so good and I'm learning a lot from this conversation myself. I think one of the big blocker people face, right? And I've had this as part of questions that people ask me always in my DMs is, how do I get ready? And you've answered this question, you've touched on this question while you were talking, but how do I face an interviewer, or what are some potential questions I'll be asked in interviews if I wanted to get into the role into a role as a tech salesperson? And how can I, as somebody who is starting this role from the scratch, right?
Mm,
How do I face or answer some of these questions, knowing that, okay, so you've mentioned I need to reach out to CEOs, I need to reach out to potential hirers in the DMs and just let them know I'd love to jump on this. But let's say I don't have some of these privileges, and I've
mm,
taken courses, I've watched YouTube videos, and I'm ready to get started. I jump
mm,
on these interviews and I'm faced with some of these questions. So what are those questions that will be asked, and how can
mm.
I answer some of those questions without prior experience?
Interesting, very interesting question. Look, my
Mhm.
first interview, especially my interview with Google,
Yeah.
I I thought about my life in whole. People really don't think that, people don't really know that life teaches you a lot while you live through life.
So good.
Think about your parents, and
Yeah.
sometimes how you stepped up to some specific challenges at home.
Mhm.
Think about when you were in school, or when
Yeah.
you were trying to read for an exam and you didn't have enough time. How
Mm.
did you push? Or think about a time when, for example, you had multiple tasks to do. Maybe you had to, go for, you had classes, you had a test that you had to take, you
Yeah.
still had to plan, maybe like, friends meet up or something external. Think about those times. See, in sales, we always look for three things. Number one is curiosity.
Mhm.
So is this person willing to learn? Because it's going to be tough, and you in
Yeah.
sales you have to learn about a lot of things. Do you know who we are as a company? So do you know, can you articulate clearly what our company does and what we stand for? Because they would ask you that question.
Mm-hmm.
Number three is they want to ask, has this person failed before? And how has this person been able to bounce back after they failed?
Mm.
Because in sales, you fail a lot. You not hit target all the time. Sales is like a very slumpy road. And in the interview, they want to know these things, and if you're able
Mm.
to articulate these things, you would scale through the interviews.
Mm.
In terms of experience and how to make sure that you pass the interviews, like I said, think about your life. I know one of my examples I did was, when I had to help my dad with something at home, while he was away, and
Yeah.
I can remember very clearly that I gave a specific situation where my dad had a farm and, he was not going to be around for, let's say, like 1 week, and I had to run the farm, make sure that everything
Mm-hmm.
is in order, you know. What actions did I take in that situation to make sure that there are no gaps and he doesn't come back and realize that wow, that he's been gone for too long and is proud of whatever inputs I've done during that 1 week,
Mm-hmm.
and what results did I achieve having done that. So what I want you to think about is think about experiences that displays how you've demonstrated specific skills like
Mm-hmm.
failure, like stepping up when everything was against you, or when you persuaded somebody to see things from your perspective. This can be most of the examples that sometimes I give, and I gave in the past, maybe not now because I have more experience, is
Okay.
I gave examples of when I was in school, when we had group projects, or and everyone was not listening to me, or they were not trying to, you know, carry the same angle that I was obviously coming. How was I able to persuade them to see things? Because in sales, you have to persuade people to see things from a perspective. So how do you show that? Also, one of the other things I did mention was learning. They would want to know exactly when you had to learn a skill. How did you go about it, and what was the result of
Mm.
that learning? And if you can, obviously, these few things I've just said, trust me, the product, the company, who do they sell to? What does their product do? If you can articulate that, if you can tell them about a time when you failure, and you bounced back, if you can tell them about a time when you had to persuade someone to see something from your view.
Mm.
Number four, if you are able to articulate very clearly a time when you had to step up, when maybe, for example, into a gap that existed,
Existed in the
you'll be
business.
very good. That's just on the
Mm.
behavioral part, and those are traits that people want to see, that you have, as a salesperson. On
Yeah.
the other side, people also want to understand your own technicalities and your technical skills on the job as well. So these ones
Mm.
are competency-based questions. They are behavioral questions on how it is. They want to understand how you sell, and how you behave in specific sales situation. And there's also competency-based. In competency-based, what you're trying to understand is, can this person cold call? What's the structure that you use? And in competency-based questions, guess what? The questions are not based on whether you have experience or not. They just want to know if you've done some training, and if you've learned something
Mm.
from somewhere else, that and you understand what they do. You know, is it when you're coming to an interview, you have to understand what the role is all about, and you can only
Mm.
understand the role when you read the job description.
True.
What did anyone that's coming to this role? What do they want me to do? Some of them will put
Mm-hmm.
there clearly cold calling, emailing. They want you to be able to collaborate. They want you to be able to do this and that. That competency based question, all they're asking you is just on the job description.
Mm-hmm.
Why the behavioral is more of a culture fit and a team fit, where they want to understand
Mm.
how you behave in specific sales situations and if you fit into the role in itself. But competency based question, they will want to ask you about your sales methodology. How do you go about qualifying customers?
Mm-hmm.
It's when competency questions, that's when they do things like role plays.
Yeah.
If you are applying for an AE closing role, they want to understand, they want you to present something to them. So that's where you can show your communication and your presentation skills. And in presentation, there are a lot of dimensions to it, because it's not just about just telling people and just scrolling through slides. You have to be able to ask questions as well as you go by. You have to be able to answer questions, answer objections. They want to understand how you answer objections as well, because in sales, some people might have real problems and they don't have the money to buy your system. So how are you able to answer the objections of, not being able to afford your system, or your system is too expensive, or they tell you that maybe now is not the right time, or they tell you
Mm-hmm.
not interested. What they want to see in competency is how do you answer those objections. My job, again, my previous jobs that I've gotten are not really based on my experience. It's just been based on what people have said in other videos, and I'm able to articulate it
Mm-hmm.
on the interview. So if you don't have any experience, what we expect you to do is do a training, look for an internship. And I've told you the best way to get an internship in sales is to do what you'll be doing on the job, which is cold calling and prospecting. Reach out to those recruiters, reach out to that company, send cold emails to people, tell them, look, I saw this role, you know, I'm interested, I've done this training and I'm open to obviously step up to that role,
Mm-hmm.
within the company. Let me know if we can have a conversation about this. Do what you'll be doing, practice what you say you are, if that makes sense. So if you're a salesperson, then you must be able to also prospect for your own job. Right? If you can't
True.
prospect for your own job, then you might not be able to prospect when you get on the job. So,
When you get the
and
job,
it also gives people the impression that, wow, this person is is
they know what they're doing. Yeah.
they know what they are doing, and they are quite proactive as well, because in sales
True.
you have to be proactive. You have to reach out to customers that don't know about the company, so they
Mm-hmm.
want to know, oh, you know people get jobs like that. Although in the UK, I don't know about Nigeria, but people get jobs, sales jobs. Right now, the best way to get a job in the UK is if you call the recruiter. You see the
Mm.
job open on the company website. You go to those prospecting tools, which you can also learn about on your sales training.
Yeah.
You get those numbers out and you call them. Oh, hi,
Amazing.
it's Toyosi. I saw that you are recruiting for this role. Just keen to understand more about the role and share my skills
Mm-hmm.
as well. Those things give them a very good impression of you. They also
About
give
you.
a
Yeah.
good impression that yes, you are proactive. So that's what I would say. That's how I would say you can get in from an interview standpoint, apart from
Mm.
applying, and how you can stand and answer those questions is, I think I've also dissected that as well.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Good stuff. Good stuff, Toyosi. Thank you so much again for that one. And let's just move very quickly because of for the sake of time, right? So I'm sure one or two persons want to know. And if you have any questions and you're watching this live, just put those questions in the chat box, and we'll make sure to take them up and answer them. If we cannot answer them on this call, we'll make it another episode and we'll answer them on that one. So just help me understand, or help people on this call understand, if somebody gets into a typical tech sales role right now, what would their day to day look like? Right? What would they what would they, because people want to get the full picture. They know if I'm doing programming, I'll probably be, punching a lot of buttons, writing a lot of code. But what's the day-to-day life of a tech salesperson like?
Yeah. This question, for example, if I interview like someone for a sales role in my company, I always want to understand what their 60, 30, 60, and
30,
90
60,
days plan is.
90.
So, and I will break that down to you. So, the first 30 days, what you expect to do as a salesperson is number one, you expect to learn about the product, because you are going to be selling that product. So, you can as well learn how the product works and what specific pains the
Mm-hmm.
product help customers to solve. So
So,
in Oracle right now, you learn about the ERP systems, so finance systems, supply chain systems, cloud systems.
mhm.
You learn about those systems. Most companies would have a lot of resources to help you learn about those things. So it will be a continuous learning about the product, because there will be a lot of updates as well that you have to be familiar with, especially when talking to
Mhm.
customers. So your day to day will be literally trying to, at least your first 30 days will be about learning that product that you're going to sell. The second thing again is understanding their ideal customer profile. So who do they sell to? So are they selling to CFOs? What kind of companies do they sell to? For some companies, for some products and tech products, they only sell to, let's say, retail businesses, or some of them sell to, manufacturing companies. So you want to understand what their ideal customer profile is. Who does this product resonates more with? That's what it's called, basically. And who within those companies would you be talking to about this product? So, for example, for Oracle, since I sell like a finance ERP system, I want to be talking with finance teams. So I want to be talking with like the CFO of a company. I want to be talking with the CEO. I want to be talking to the finance manager. I want to be talking to like the finance controller. So understanding your ideal customer profile helps you to know exactly who you're targeting within those companies. But also, you're also practicing a lot of outreach. So your first 30 days is when you start to build what your cadence is going to look like. So your cadence is something they call like the touch plan. Again, they would ask you these questions in your interview. They want to understand, or they will give you as a form of assignment or a task that you have to come back and show them what you've done. You want to, at that point is when you want to build out what your touch plan is, So for day one, what will I be doing? The day one can be like, okay, especially when you get a lead. So for example, if for example they tell you, the lead is, we'll give you an example, Paystack in Nigeria. Maybe you are supposed to, maybe one of the leads that is on your list for you to call or prospect into is Paystack. At this point is when you are going to create a touch plan on how you want to get in touch with them. So it can be that maybe you have like 18-day touch plan where, after 18 days, if I don't get a response from this lead from Paystack, then I have to disqualify the lead and bring in another lead to work. So the touch plan and that outreach strategy is almost like day one, I'm going to call this prospect, I'm going to send them an email, I'm going to send them a LinkedIn email. Right? Day two can now be, okay, if they don't respond, I'll give them 1 day in between, and day two, I'll do that same step. So that's what practicing outreaches mean. It just means that you're practicing your email pitch, you're practicing your cold call, and what your LinkedIn messaging will look like. And then for your first 30 days, what you also do is you shadow a lot of experienced people on the team. So people that are already doing it, you have to shadow them as well. And then a typical day, and I'll give you an example, a typical day after the first 30 days is, number one, you would be doing a lot of account planning. So an account planning is, okay, these are all my tile. I need to do research into that account. I have to see exactly what's going on within the business. Once I have that research, they're called trigger events. Then I can now start building my messaging. And your day will be filled with a lot of cold calling. You have a lot of in-between alignment with like your managers. You also have like times when you're sending emails, and you have times when you're doing demos. Right. So that's what the split is. From your 60 days, it's typically always iterative, and almost you're doing the same thing. You're cold calling every day, you're sending emails, and you're doing demos, or you're receiving or trying to follow up with the previous email that you've sent in the past. So
amazing breakdown. And it seems like a lot for a lot of people who are watching this live at the moment, but don't worry, you just get into the juice of it. The more you do it, the more you get into the juice of it. And yeah, just like Toyosi said, you're going to be doing a lot of research, understanding your ICP, understanding who you should be reaching out to, right? Essentially just having like a good touch plan on how you're going to be reaching out to these people. Amazing stuff. Now, with all of these things we've said, right, we're getting to the juicy part. What does remuneration look like, right? Now, for somebody who is coming into tech sales right now, and you're going to do this in two parts. I know you're in the UK and you've also worked in Nigeria, right? So you're going to do like, obviously you understand these two markets. So you're going to do the Nigerian market, and then you're also going to do the UK market. So in a typical Nigerian market, right, what should a newbie coming into tech sales look forward to in terms of salary expectations, right? And also for those who will be in the UK market, what should they be looking at coming into the tech sales ecosystem?
Interesting. I will actually do Nigeria because I really love Nigeria. I'm also going to do other markets. So I'll do other markets like the US and also the UK. But I'll also do for people that are based in Nigeria, because I do know a few people that are based in Nigeria and also working for a tech
Outside.
sales company outside. So they are earning in dollars
Beautiful.
in Nigeria. So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'll give you those breakdowns. So the first ones are Nigerians.
Before you start, Toyosi, if
Mhm.
you're watching this live, get your pen and paper so you understand the earning potential. And you can also,
Mhm.
segue, just talk about the commissioning as well. So what would
Yeah,
commissioning look like essentially? Okay, yeah.
yeah. So in sales, generally, there's the base salary and there's something they
Okay.
call OTE. The OTE is almost like the uncapped commission kind of
Yeah.
thing, on target earning.
Target
So
earnings.
there's something they call on target earning where if you hit your target outside your base salary, you get to get an additional lump of money, right? And in sales, the interesting thing about sales is if you hit your target, you can actually get that lump of money. So we always look forward to the commission part of sales because that's the interesting part, right? As an intern, if you are getting in as an intern, and I'll start with different levels. So if you are going in as an intern salesperson in Nigeria right now, sadly, you might not have a commission, but you have a base salary, and the base salary typically range from about 150K to 250K, depending on the company that you work with as an intern,
Mhm.
right? And at least right now, I know that it's gone up a bit. I think it's now about 200, 300K for an intern. So in Nigeria. So if you work with a tech company, they should be paying you between 200 and 300K. And for the ones that are not as big and not doing well, maybe 150K for an intern. If you are starting in as an associate or as a BDR or an SDR in sales in Nigeria at the moment, yes, you have commission. And that's
Mhm.
when you start to have those commissions. And as an entry level salesperson in Nigeria, you should be earning anything between 350 to about 500K as an
Mhm.
entry level person. So if you are entering into sales in Nigeria, it's 350K to 500K. Your commission in Nigeria typically always is for an entry level person is about 1.5 million.
Mhm.
Um, in commission, and that should be split across 4 quarters. So your commission should be around like 4 million ish, thereabout, on target earning, and that's plus your yearly salary. So this is not monthly salary. This one is for a year. So
Mhm.
if you hit your targets as an entry level person, you should earn an OTE or a commission between. Don't let me stretch it too much because entry level between 2 million to about 3.5 million thereabouts for that year if you hit your target as an entry level person.
Mm.
Now, in mid, if you are now a senior salesperson in Nigeria, you should be earning nothing. You should be earning between 600K to about 1.2 million.
Yeah.
You should be earning between 600K to 1.2 million, and it can fall within that range depending on the company
Mhm.
that you work with. And your commission can be about 5 million every year, basically.
Mhm.
So let's say your salary is, let's say, 7 million as base salary in 1 year or 6
Yeah.
million as a base salary in a year, you should expect that at the end of that year, if you hit your target, you should be earning nothing less than 14 million naira, right? And it depends, it can vary. Some companies always cap the commission. So, for example,
Mhm.
if you hit targets, it doesn't matter if you exceed your target, you still earn that 5 million naira they've
Yeah.
allocated to commissions. But then if you exceed it, if you exceed your target, there's some people that do uncapped commission. It means that
Mhm.
once you've exceeded target, for example, that's what we do in my company. Once you've
Yeah.
exceeded target, 20% of any deals that you close at that point comes to you,
Back to you.
right?
Okay.
And people always love that. So if you can exceed your target, that's always good. And then if you're a more senior salesperson, you should be earning nothing less than 900K to about 2.5 million.
Yeah.
And it depends on the company again.
Mhm.
Some companies can pay lower than that, but the upper
In an ideal
level, let's
situation.
say,
Yeah.
yes, you should earn nothing less than 900K to about 2.5 million, and your
Mhm.
commission should not be anything less than 8 million naira in a year if you hit your target. So that's how it runs. So basically, that's a nutshell. If you are now the head of sales in a company, you should be earning nothing less than 4 million to 5 million. Some companies will give you less, some people will give you more. every month. So it depends on the company. Between 3 to 5 million naira is what an head of sales or a sales manager we earn, basically in Nigeria. Some companies, depending on how they categorize it, they will give you 1.5. I've seen head of sales any 1.5, 2 million, but it should not be less than that, basically. And your commission for sales managers typically always run into 10 millions. And it's a range. It can run between 4 million to 10 million naira. It depends on the company again that you work. So I would say that in terms of specific figure, an entry-level person every single year should have any nothing less than 4 million naira in total salary, right? That's plus your monthly salary. So if you earn 250K or 300K, to with commission and everything, 3 times 12 is 3.6, and then if you earn another 2 million to 3 million in commission, you should be earning nothing less than 7 million naira and an entry-level person. Yes. So that's just it. In terms of other markets, it's the same model. In the UK, for example, if you're starting up in sales, you'll be earning £45,000. And then your commission can be 20K. Typically, it's 20K. And some people always do a 70%, 30% split. So, for example, in Nigeria, they can give you like a 7 million naira salary, but they will tell you it's a 70%, 30% split, which means that 70% of that 7 million naira is your base salary for the year, and then 30% is your commission. Yeah. And in the US, it's even more. If you are working in Nigeria, it should not be any less than $2,500 as an entry-level salesperson. And it depends on the company. Some companies pay $1,800 in Nigeria and commission is, so they will, in Nigeria you earn like 30K dollars, and then maybe like another 15K as commission. Yeah. So that's the way it is. Entry level in the UK, in the US, they earn like 45,000. In the US, it might be 60K. In the UK, it's once you grow past 45, you start earning like 50 something K. The commission grows up to like 30K. But in the UK, they always do it more like a huge lump sum. So for example, if you're coming in, they'll tell you 45K OTE, 40K 30% split. When you grow older in the company, they'll say 70K. That's a 40%, 30% split commission. That's 70% of 70K is your base, and then 30% is your commission. And then, so some people will now put uncapped or capped. Either it's capped at that, it means that you cannot earn more than that, or it's uncapped. If you exceed your target, you can start to earn, other money. It means that you can exceed whatever they've already set there for you. So that's just the breakdown. I appreciate that this thing is dependent on company. I know you're Nigerian. I'm just saying it based on where I think the market is right now and what they should be earning. If you work for a good company like MoneyPoint, or let's say, I don't know about Paystack, but maybe Flutterwave, you should be able to earn these figures I've just highlighted to you. With other smaller companies, maybe just a bit more lower, but again, it depends.
Amazing. Thank you so much for those insights. And before we wrap up, I think we have just a few minutes before we call this a session, and it has been absolutely insightful. And any person who has been following this must have had a lot to write down in their notes. Now, if you want to, if all you've heard today, sparks an interest in you, and you want to, learn more about tech sales, understand how to be a good tech salesperson, learn how to, apply to some of the best companies across the globe, and you just want to start your tech sales career, we have a community, and that link will be dropped in the description of this YouTube video, right? And also in the community, we'll drop a link to get started in the Tech Sales Mastery course, right? All you need to do is just say, I am interested, right? Just send a message, I'm interested in that community, and we'll get you started and onboarded in that course right now. Before we go away from this session, Toyosi, before we go, let's just talk practicals right now, right? Let's talk about applying for roles. Let's talk about LinkedIn, resumes, job search strategies, and all of that. Now, when it comes to, standing out, right, as a tech salesperson, because what you realize is the more fields come out across the tech space, right, the more the more people are flooding the space, right? Every single time. And to get a good tech sales job that really pay you, to be honest, you really need to stand out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what can people do to stand out? And what are some of the most important skills and experiences a candidate should highlight in their resumes, on their LinkedIn, to get some of these jobs?
Yeah, interesting question. I did actually write a few points here.
Mhm.
On your LinkedIn profile, you want everything about you to speak sales, right? Your header should be, if you're not yet in sales, then you have to put something that tells people that you are looking to be in sales, or something
Mhm.
like aspiring tech sales professional can
Yeah.
be like your, you know, or the specific role you are looking to get, and
Hmm.
just put it as aspiring and the role. It's always
Yeah.
very, very important to stand out, especially for recruiters that use LinkedIn a lot to look for roles.
Hmm.
Also, you want to highlight whatever trainings that you've had and what you've learned from those trainings, especially in your
Mm.
about page. Even though I not have experience, but sometimes I see I like some of the trainings I've had in the past. So if,
Mm.
for example, you had some training, you can put it there that, oh, did this training and this is what I learned, cold calling, this skill, this skill, this skill, this skill, these
Yeah.
skills, you know making me ready to potentially fill this kind of role. And then in your experience, what you want to be doing is, some people have experience, but maybe not direct sales. What you want to try to do is look for the salesy part of those experience. There's no experience that you have that does not have the salesy part. Even if it's marketing, even if it's operations, there are times that you had to sell something or do something that is sales related. All you need to do is just to highlight those parts clearly in your job descriptions and what you did during those periods. Basically, it doesn't matter what role it is. It's just that for an operations role, you want to make it more salesy and put figures, put numbers, put percentages, so that
Hmm.
people can quantify the impact that you made on the team, right? And then that's how you want to do it. Also, put your trainings that you had in your experience as well, in your experience section, or this training in this, and put what the training was about and put the duration
Mm.
of the training. It's always very important. It shows people that, oh, this person is really looking to learn and looking to do a lot of things. In terms of like wondering like who hires entry level talent, look for software companies, look for fintechs in Nigeria, look for cybersecurity companies, and there are a lot in Nigeria. You'll be shocked. There are a lot. Um, look for different all these kind of companies, fintechs in Nigeria a lot, financial services. Look for consulting companies. Look for all these guys sell a lot. And in terms of, just to wrap up, get a
Yeah.
structural support on
Okay.
programs like the one that Michael does run. Learn
Yeah.
about proven frameworks. Optimize your resume. Your resume should have like an about you, just a very
Hmm.
small professional summary, and
Yeah.
that should highlight sales and your interest in sales. Okay, this is why I'm an aspiring this thing, looking to get into this kind of role, and this is what I have done. These are the trainings I've
Hmm.
done. Just that
Hmm.
professional. In your experience, if you don't have any experience at all,
Yeah.
just put the trainings you've done and what the duration was and what were the key learnings there under it.
Hmm.
If you have experience, still put your experience, but just make sure that whatever job description you're putting under it is very quantifiable. I can quantify
Mm.
the impact that you have made on the team. More like something like, I led 20 people to be able to achieve this specific revenue, or I optimized, I reduced time taken to do this by 20%. Just make sure that it's quantifiable and I can quantify your impact, and do that as well to your LinkedIn. Very, very important. Put a professional picture. Don't just put a picture of you just anywhere. Put a professional picture of you looking straight at the camera, close up. People can see that, oh, this is the person that is applying.
Yeah.
When I started my career, my first job, trust me, my employer, the person I was recruiting, I was interviewing, told me that I should send my picture. I'm like, and then I had to check my LinkedIn. I realized that my picture was just a normal nonsense picture that you just put there. And since then, I decided to change and revamp everything. And
Yeah.
then once you have all those things in place, then you can start applying. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of
Mm.
templates online that you can use for your CV.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
stress too much. Just make sure that those things I've highlighted are present. Also, there should be a skill area as well where you can highlight what specific skills you have. Like, for
Mm,
example, CRM, you know how to use Salesforce, HubSpot. Reference those things there because those things are very important.
mhm,
And then you can start applying. Like I said, look for fintechs, look for these people, send your CV there, prospect for these people, prospects,
mm,
like call them, send them emails, look for their emails. There are ways you can do it. If you attend Markel's training, maybe he can teach you how to get customer emails and you know,
amazing. Mhm,
get those emails, send them emails, like tell them, look, this is my CV. I'm interested in an internship. If you've not had any experience or an entry level sales
mm,
role, this is what I can bring on board. Are you open to having a conversation about this?
yeah.
And then prepare for the interview. Your interview should be based on things that you've learned. Do mock sessions, role plays, and you'll be okay and seek feedback as well. And then who knows, you can land your first sales job and be earning money and be happy.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for those insightful conversations, so you see, and for taking the time out to join me on this conversation. I truly appreciate it. I don't take it for granted at all. Now, before we go, in our tech sales mastery course, just like Toyosi just mentioned, we emphasize practical skills like objection handling, lead qualification. You understand how to use CRMs, understand how to identify your ICPs, and some of this good stuff that we just discussed in this conversation. And now, if you want to be a part of that course, right, just send a message in the community, right, that you'd love to be a part of it. Just type "I'm interested," and somebody, one of the community managers, would take charge of that conversation and get you onboarded. Okay, now before we go to your C, like I said, it's been a fantastic conversation, and I have also learned a lot from this conversation. Now, just before you leave, do you have any final words for those who are ready to, get started in tech sales?
Yeah, what I would say is just keep learning, you know. Do not stop learning about things that will get you there. Trust me, when I was in Nigeria, I never really thought about the fact that I would be where I am today. So,
Mm,
just see it as, I did have aspiration, but I didn't even really know how to get there. I didn't know how exactly I could go about it. Just like you might be wondering, how do I even get to go about it? But guess what? Just get started. Be
true.
very curious, learn a lot, register for the right courses, the right training. Also, one of the things I also did was that I had a list of places I would like to work. They don't have to
Mm,
be in Nigeria, funny enough. You can look for huge companies outside Nigeria, and all you are doing is just to be looking at the kind of roles they are recruiting for, the kind of sales
reaching
jobs,
out.
and what they will
Yeah.
require somebody coming into that role to know and
Hmm.
do. I used to do that a lot. So I would look at like big job companies like Microsoft, for example. Look at the sales role. The sales roles might be very experienced. Like, I might not be able to get in, at least maybe not yet. But what I'm trying to do there is trying to see, okay, what are the things they would want the person that's coming to this
Requirements.
role to do,
Yeah.
and then how can I start to learn about those things now? How can I start to, put the right structures in place to learn those things? And
Mm,
you never know. Like one day the opportunity will just come. You've seen this role 1,000 times. You've seen what they require. You know how to
mhm.
do it. Now you just apply and you just get the job.
Just get it.
So not one thing I would say is that nothing comes by accident. People put intentionality to everything that they do. They put structure into everything that they do.
Mhm.
Just start. Trust me, you never know what the next 1 year, 2 years will give. If you are very curious enough and you like learning things a lot, this is a field to be. If you want to excel in life and you want to learn the right skills, sales is the right skills to learn. Trust me, you will not
True.
regret it. It's the best skill you can ever learn. It will influence everything you do around your life. And the sky is just the limit if you are curious and you're filled with ambitions to learn and grow. Don't ever think less of where you are. There's a lot of potential in every one of us,
True.
and all of
True.
you. And all you just have to do is to harness it. And the harnessing stuff is curiosity and learning. So that's what I'll learn. Leave you
Amazing.
guys with.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you again, Toyosi, for joining us on this conversation. And thank you to everyone who joined us, who spent your morning with us, listening to this, amazing and insightful conversation. And to everyone who will be joining or listening or watching this conversation after the live is broadcast on YouTube. would would love for you to know that the link and the description to the community is absolutely free of charge. Would be in the YouTube description. So just click on it, join the community. You can ask questions, engage with other sales professionals in the community, understand how to, navigate this ecosystem called tech sales, right? And understand how to grow your career. From all of us, from myself, from Toyosi, from all of us at School of Advanced Selling, it's a bye-bye for now. We'll have another conversation based on the questions we're going to be getting. So if you have your questions, type them in the chat or send them in the community. And that is what would be our next topic, right? Thank you again, Toyosi, for joining this conversation. It was really insightful. I salute you, sir, and have a wonderful day.
And you too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys. Bye.